If your relationship is up and down like a yo-yo, meaning you're happy, you're depressed, you're arguing, you're not, sex, no sex, or maybe you're just stuck down here where the relationship isn't working, then today's podcast episode is going to help you immensely. I'm going to break down 3 steps on how you can take your wife or partner from being angry, upset, triggered at you, even hating you, to being in a place where she can't resist you and desires, respects, and appreciates you. I've used this with myself. I've used this with almost 1,000 of our Empowered Man clients. And even though it made my wife hate me initially, afterwards, she couldn't resist me. I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds silly, but I'm going to break down exactly how this works, the story behind it, and how you can implement it in your life with your partner or with anyone, your kids, your employees, your friends, doesn't matter. It's an extremely powerful principle that breaks down communication and connection to the highest degree. So enjoy. I hope you get value from this episode. Also, if you do get value, just give this a like, thumbs up, drop a comment down below. It helps us reach more men. All right, so how does this process work? We're gonna go through 3 phases and how they fuck up relationships, then how to fix them. They are trigger, story, reaction. I'm gonna break down exactly how they affect you in your life by telling you a story. So I've been coaching men for like 7 years now. I've had over 1,000 clients, helped fix almost 1,000 marriages. I teach how to have great relationships while also running a business, having balance, having a healthy body, basically having it all. That's my MO. That's what I teach. And I fuck it up constantly. I'm not perfect. This has happened recently in my relationship with my wife, Rosie. We have both been getting quite triggered at each other. Not to the point where I hate her, but I guarantee there have been moments where she's like, fuck, I hate this guy. It's a strong word, but it's happened. How this happens is I'll come downstairs after a long workday where I'm trying to provide for my family. I've been dealing with stress all day and pressure because that's what we do as men, especially high-performing men. And then the one place that's supposed to be safe, the one place that's supposed to be comfortable and peaceful is not, because my wife is stressed. I'll come downstairs and there'll be dishes in the sink. I'll come downstairs and the house will be a mess. I'll come downstairs and even though those things aren't done well, I'm okay with that. My wife's really fucking stressed. She's upset, she's triggered. You can see it in her body. Her energy is like, argh! She's upset at our daughter. She's upset that she has to look after the house. And my typical response is to get triggered. It's to go, what the fuck? Like, what are you stressed about? All you have to do is make sure our child doesn't die, clean the dishes here and there, and have some food on the table. Now, I'm not saying this to be misogynistic, although some people will take it that way, but the story attached to the trigger is that I've been eating shit all day. I've had to fire someone. You know, we've got tax bills. If you're a high-performing man, you understand the stress and pressure, the weight of the world on your shoulders. And this comparison game begins to happen. So the problem is, 1, there's a trigger. Dishes in the sink, the house is a mess, she's upset, she's stressed. Then there's a story attached to that trigger. And that story is something along the lines of, you have no idea, comparison, this is what I'm going through, this is what you're going through. And this creates a lack of understanding on my side and on her side. So now I don't feel understood for all the hard work I'm doing. She doesn't feel understood for how difficult it is for her to manage everything when all she wants to do is just relax and not have to cook or clean, which I don't think those things are hard, but it's just like being under a barbell. For me, I might be able to bench press 100 kilos. She might be able to bench press 30 kilos. We both feel like it's the same effort, even though her weight is lighter. And by the way, women are typically designed to handle less stress. Men are the ones who go hunt, kill, and fuck and, do all the war stuff. So there's this lack of understanding. And a lot of the time, because I teach this, I use the techniques we teach in Empowered Man, I'm able to diffuse the trigger, challenge the story, and not react. But sometimes the third problem comes up: trigger, story, reaction, and I explode. When I say I explode, I don't yell, I don't scream, but I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong? The reason I get upset and angry and say what's wrong is because I'll say, what's wrong, babe? She goes, I'm fine. I know you're not fine. No, I'm fine. I'm like, babe, I know you're not fine. And because I'm so stressed from the workday, I'm like, I can't deal with this stress. It's not cool. And then I'll just leave. Or I'll be like, I don't want to deal with this. Then she feels upset. She doesn't feel like she's heard. This story breaks down the 3 different components that will make your relationship break down, that will cause your partner to hate you. Now, I'm about to share with you how you can take these 3 problems when there's a trigger in your relationship, when there is a story around that trigger, and when there is a reaction either on her part or your part, and flip them on the script so that you go from hate to desire. Literally, my wife went from hating me and being upset at me to wanting me and jumping my bones in the space of a few days using these techniques. So let's get into how to break them down and how to fix them. The first step here for you is to identify the trigger. So figure out what's going on in your relationship with your partner or wife that's pissing you off. For a lot of guys, it's really simple stuff. It's dishes in the sink, the house being a mess, they're yelling at the kids, they're not handling stress well, and you'll start judging them. So the trigger is the thing that causes a negative emotion inside of your body. It's like somebody pulling the finger at you while they're driving. For a lot of people, that is the trigger that makes you explode, but it's simply a moment in time. And that trigger has a story associated to it. Let me explain what I mean. If somebody flips you off while you're driving, the story is, fuck you, you have no idea, I'm in a rush. And this is all happening subconsciously. Just like driving, you don't think about driving once you've got good at it. It's like wiping your ass or drying yourself with a towel. Your subconscious mind controls most of who you are and what you do. And it also controls the stories and thoughts in your head, which happen really quickly, and there are stories associated to it. Another example is when your wife is upset or stressed and the house is a mess and the kids are screaming and there's dishes in the sink. The automatic story for so many men is she doesn't care. I'm working my ass off. I don't feel respected. I don't feel appreciated. Like she has no idea what stress really is. She has no idea, how easy she has it. She doesn't have to work. She doesn't have to do all the shit I do in business. And then later in the day, I'm expected to help out with the kids. And no matter how stressed or tired I am, I have to help out around the house and with the kids. And then when we finally go to bed, and I just want to get some sex, I want to get laid, she turns the other way or says, I'm tired, not tonight, for the 7th, 8th, 19th, 20th, 100th night in a row. See how all of that is a story that happens inside of your head subconsciously? So every single trigger is going to have a story associated to it. The first step is to identify the triggers. So you want to identify all the things that trigger you in your relationship. And you also want to try and identify what are the things that trigger your partner about you. Is it you coming home late? Is it you not communicating or being able to emotionally connect with her? Is it you using a shitty tone of voice? Is it you being stressed from work? Because that definitely affects the partner. Like, what are the triggers on your side and what are the triggers on her side? You got to identify those triggers and see what's going on. The second step here is to then start questioning the stories associated with the trigger. So I go downstairs. I see the house is a mess. I see that there's dishes in the sink. I see that my wife's really stressed. And the higher self of me, the version who's the man who wants to lead and be the empowered man, goes, cool, I'm going to help my wife. This is all good. I'm just going to help her. And I go, how can I help you? And she's like, I'm fine. I'm like, dude, don't talk to me like that. So I'm questioning the story because I know that the story that she's not trying hard and her life's easy is bullshit. When I really step into her shoes and understand her, I know that she's finding it difficult. Your wife or partner will not be stressed, upset, tired, or cranky unless they're finding things difficult. They're doing the best with the tools they have. You got to remind yourself of that. So I'll start to question the story. I'm like, cool, well, it's her period this week. Maybe that's why she's upset. Well, she hasn't slept very well. She's been getting up every night for the last few weeks to look after our daughter while I sleep in bed. Now, granted, I have to work, but I'll start questioning the story. That the default story is she doesn't care, she doesn't appreciate me, I'm not respected, etc. I will then start questioning the story. And if I can question the story effectively, meaning I can step into her shoes, try and understand her better, then I can go from a reaction, which is typically anger, frustration, judgment, saying something that's going to make the situation worse, raising my voice, just taking it out on her. I can go from reaction to asking to understand. So let's break this down once again, because there's a lot of information, right? We have the trigger. The trigger is the thing that causes the negative thought or emotion. We have the story that's associated to the trigger. So we want to identify the trigger and then we want to question the story. She doesn't care, she doesn't appreciate me. Well, is she tired? Have I asked her what's going on? Even though I've worked all day, I've chosen to do that. Let's help her out. You start to question the story, the thoughts, and this takes fucking effort and time and energy. And then instead of reacting, you then ask to understand. This is the third step here. So you say to her, hey, look, you seem stressed. Is everything okay? I'm fine, right? That in itself for a lot of guys is a trigger. So you've got to repeat the process. Trigger, story, I'm fine. Oh, she always says that. So it's a constant process. I'm fine. Babe, I know you. I know you're not fine. What can I do to support you right now? What can I do to help you? You're trying to diffuse her trigger because you even asking is a trigger. I'm fine. So when I go downstairs and I say, babe, how can I help you? I'm fine. Babe, I know you're not fine. I'm fine. I'm like, don't talk to me like that. Now I've got triggered. I've got to be able to breathe, stay calm in the situation until she diffuses and gets to a lower level. And now we can have a proper conversation from logic instead of emotion. And I do that by asking to understand what's going on for you right now. What are you stressed about? What happened today? What happened today to get you to this point? And 2 weeks ago, my wife was really angry. She's pissed off at me. We sat down and I asked to understand. I asked questions. What's going on for you? How are you feeling? Because I asked questions instead of telling her what she was doing wrong or reacting, trigger, story, reaction, identify the trigger, question the story, ask to understand instead of reaction, I started asking her questions. And she opened up to me. Well, I'm feeling really stressed. I haven't been getting much sleep. I feel like all I do is cook and clean. I don't have any freedom. I don't have any time for myself. Now, I personally don't believe those things are true. However, in her worldview, in her perspective, she does. And if she feels like she has no freedom, she has no time, she has no life, she's trapped in prison, even though I might feel that way, she doesn't care. It doesn't matter if she loves me or if she's my wife, because she's in her own world, she's in her own story, she's struggling mentally, emotionally. So my job as a leader is to pull her out of that. And the way that I do that is I support her and I understand her and give her the empathy. Even though I'm stressed, I'm busy, I'm tired, it doesn't fucking matter, because leaders, this is the point of being a leader, they can carry way more weight and way more burden than the people around them. So I asked her to understand, how can I support you? How can I help you? She said, well, it helps if you don't get angry at me. It helps when I'm stressed for you not to get stressed back at me, because that makes it worse. It helps when I'm stressed for you to just give me some space instead of trying to fix the problem. Because a big pattern for me is I try and fix the problem. Like, babe, what are you grateful for? Let's get you out of this. And it doesn't happen fast enough. Then I get triggered, I create a story, I react. So ultimately here, this is a very powerful skill set, is being able to take your triggers and understand and question your stories quickly. This is why writing things down helps. In the moment, this is really difficult to do. But if you reflect on your relationship, think of in the last month, week, 6 months, however long it's been since you last had an argument, what was the thing you got triggered about? And what was the story you created around that thing? I don't feel understood, I don't feel this, I don't feel that. Typically, it's all about you. Like, I don't feel this, they made me, blah, blah, blah. And then what was your reaction based on that story? If you simply change the story, the trigger has no more power and you can't react. You stay cool, calm, and collected. You stay in a place of power, because as soon as you lose your shit, you lose your power. And now you're able to ask to understand. What a powerful process. The fourth step here, once you've identified the trigger, you've questioned the story, you've asked to understand instead of reacting, is actually breaking down what's causing you to get triggered about things in the first place. I know for me that when I've been winning in business, I'm sleeping well, I'm exercising, I'm eating well, I'm meditating, I'm journaling, I'm balanced, I feel good physically and mentally, I'm much less likely to react. Often that trigger actually comes from within because you've lost control of yourself. It's the exact same for your partner. They've lost control of themselves, but as I often say, we can't control them. We are losing control of ourselves because we're not integrated. We're not happy, we're not healthy, we're not, feeling good. So where are these triggers actually coming from? Is it actually worth getting upset about if there are dishes in the sink? Is it worth getting upset if there's Lego on the floor? Is it worth getting upset if your partner is stressed or struggling? When we go into a state of trigger, it's really hard to understand someone. And you'll notice as a leader, what your partner really wants is they want to be heard. They want to be listened to. They want to be understood. It's the exact same for employees. What we'll typically do is we'll get triggered because the employee's doing something wrong. Then what we'll do is we'll create a story. They don't care about the business. I pay them and they still don't fucking show up. Then we'll react. Instead of going, oh my God, I'm triggered because my employee's not doing well. The story is they don't care. How can I ask to understand what's going on for them? Hey man, I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems like you're not doing well hitting your targets. What's going on for you? Is everything okay? Often, if you don't ask clarifying questions, it's really hard to understand why somebody is showing up the way they are. So if you're not having enough sex, if you're not connected to your partner, if you're arguing all the time, if you feel like you're at each other's throats, if you feel like that intimacy and spark has disappeared, then you got to ask, what's going on? Is everything okay? I'm fine. What do you mean by that? Tell me more about that. You seem stressed. What's caused you to get stressed out? And you start creating a list of clarifying questions to understand people better. We make assumptions in our mind, and these assumptions create massive clashes. When I go downstairs and my assumption is she doesn't care, she's stressed all the time, it's making my life harder, and her assumption is he just is never home, he's never there, and those two things clash, it creates a massive rift. When you're with someone for a while as well, you get so comfortable with each other that you don't even realize this shit is happening. And this is how divorces happen. This is how marriages break down. So ultimately what you want to do is you want to create understanding in the relationship. Whenever I do this with my wife, without fail, she becomes way happier. She becomes way more supportive. She does more of the things that I'm upset about her for not doing, keeping the house clean, keeping the dishes out of the sink. And she also becomes way more aroused and way more emotionally connected to me because she feels that understanding. I cannot stress enough how important it is for everyone on the planet, but especially your partner, to feel understood, to feel appreciated and supported. If you can fill her love bank and give her those things, naturally, like biologically, she is going to want to feed back into you. The principle here that will help you a lot is be interested, not interesting. When you are interested by someone or something, you can't be triggered. Like if somebody pulls the finger at you and you go, that's super interesting that somebody is so stressed while driving to do that. You can't be triggered. It diffuses the trigger instantly. So be interested in people. Be interested in what's going on for them. Be interested in understanding them. Be interested in how they're showing up the way they are. And that takes away the trigger, which takes away the emotion, which allows you to go from reacting to responding calmly and patiently. It works like a treat. So that's the combination right there, is identify the triggers that are coming up in your relationships, especially with your partner, but anyone. Identify the stories that are associated to the trigger, right? The trigger is the thing that happens. The story is what happens after. You're in control of the story, and start to question it. Start to choose a different story. She doesn't care. Well, she might be tired. How can I support her? And then instead of reacting because you've diffused the story, ask to understand, get to know this person, actually get to know what's going on for them. And also ask to understand yourself. Like, why am I so triggered? Why am I getting upset? Why am I handing away my power? Because after all, the only person who controls your thoughts, feelings, actions, and reactions is you. Like, you control your emotion. You control the stories. You control what you focus on. And where focus goes, energy flows, and you have the power to choose where you put your energy. When you realize this principle, life becomes so fucking amazing. You become unfuckwithable because you choose how to feel. You choose what to focus on, which means you can choose to feel good and have a great relationship. And that passes on to your partner. So if you got value from this, make sure you give it a thumbs up, drop a comment down below. Thank you to all of you who comment. I really appreciate it. I'm getting some love from you. And yeah, episode 69, good number. See you for the next episode of the Empowered Man podcast.